Okay, I think we might be streaming. Let's just give it another second here to make sure that we to make sure that it's on. I think it probably is. Okay, great. We are in a shared office, as you can tell. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Reselection event for the 2022 Petaluma Fairgrounds Advisory Panel. I'm Lynn Davis, Program Co-Director at Healthy Democracy, and I'm joined by...
I'm Grace Taylor, the Operations Director at Healthy Democracy.
You might remember us from the first round of this, where we selected an initial panel of 36. Well, as always happens, there are some folks who dropped out. In this case, 12 folks, as it turned out, who we need to replace on the panel because they had other obligations or were otherwise no longer able to be part of the panel. So this is sort of the first stage in that process. What we're going to be doing today is we've created, you see the bingo machine here again, we've created another set of 1,000 panels that have different folks on them. And we'll be selecting one of those. Those are now panels of 12 to fill in those 12 vacant spots. And then after this meeting, we will be selecting an additional 36 folks as alternates. So just a couple notes before we get started about, I want to show show our work here a little bit, and this will be part of the notes after this meeting about an update to the demographic profile. But if I can just share my screen here. Okay, here we go. So first off, this is, you'll recognize this. This looks similar to what we've had before. We'll be posting this on the website so that, yeah, you can see all the different panels here. There's only 12, as you can see here. And yeah, so you can see
12 people in each of the 1,000 panels.
That's it. Thank you. 12 people in each of the 1,000 panels, 000 to 999. And that's the live stream itself. Over here, I just wanted to point out a couple of things about the panel demographics. So one thing to note is that, and again, this data will be available publicly just after this meeting. So this is sort of the initial selected. This is sort of what's public right now. This column here over here is new. It shows sort of who's been confirmed already. So as you can see, there's sort of a smattering of folks. It wasn't dropouts all from any one category at all. In fact, a pretty good range across all the different categories, which was quite helpful. And particularly in some of these small categories or small number of folks who could have been selected, we didn't have very many dropouts, which is just wonderful. One area where you'll note that we had to make a couple of changes that I just want to point out to the way we would have done the selection sort of ideally because of the number of folks available. In the Latinx category here, we confirmed 7 folks. There were originally 14 in the target, which was actually, you'll see a corrected targets column here because there were a couple of little tiny sort of mistakes that I made originally when I did this. It won't impact the final panel because of this reselection process. It sort of gives us another chance to fix any of those little errors, but there should have been ranges in here. And actually, let me do that first. So up here, you'll notice there should have also been ranges in gender that were more split the difference sort of. And up here in housing status, we made a little bit of a mistake where we used the non-equity based targets for that, and we wanted to use the equity based targets. So luckily, we have enough folks who dropped out actually that we'll be able to fully correct for that this go around, which is great. Yeah, no changes up there. I think I've covered all those. So all those little things there. So back to the race and ethnicity category. In yeah, as you may have noticed in the first round, there was a fairly low number of folks who responded in the Latinx category compared to the number of folks that we wanted to select in that category. As you'll see here, so our original target for that category is about 45%, and only about 7% of respondents were in that category. That's quite a significant disparity, even without, other, even compared to the non-equity targets, actually. Therefore, there were actually only 14 folks available in the original sample to select from. So as somebody noticed and noted to us, which we really appreciate, there were a number of folks in that first round who were on every panel. And that was absolutely the way it should have been, as it turned out, because there were 14 folks available in the selection, and there were 14 folks who were selected. So obviously they were all going to be on all 1,000 of those panels. And that was true in a couple of the other really small categories, but we just didn't quite see it in that Latinx category originally because of a couple of other factors. For example, we didn't take out the folks who responded that they were only available for online only, or members of the same household in that original selection. All those details, if you want, all the many details are part of the notes document. So for the purposes of this reselection, the thing that I just want to note is that we've had to reduce the target for that category simply because we only have 4 folks to reselect from in that category rather than the 7 that we'd ideally sort of like. And that's unfortunate. That's going to mean that in that subcategory specifically, we won't be able to meet both of the equity targets. And remember, in the race and ethnicity category, there's sort of 2 overlaid equity targets. We're using the population for young people, K through 12 sort of age, and also correcting for disparities in previous engagement. So we can, it will match one or the other of those, take your pick, but it won't match both of them overlaid on top of each other. That said, overall, in terms of people of color generally on this panel, we're right on with the equity targets in general. Well, we will be after this reselection. Those will match up, in general, if we sort of, look at a very, very simplistic view of race and ethnicity there. The one other thing I just need to note here really fast is that there was one tiny little adjustment that had to be made up here to the targets for this reselection. In the 75 plus category, there should be sort of a 0 there because we have 4, and 4 is the top of the target range, as you can see over here on the left. We've had to allow for the possibility, in fact, it will be one person reselected into that category because all the people in that category overlap with all the folks in the some schooling or no diploma category. And because there's sort of a greater disparity in that category, we made the decision to sort of allow the 75 plus category to go 1 over in order to be able to fulfill the some schooling, no diploma category. Sometimes at this stage, some trade-offs like that have to be taken into account because it's a ton of different variables happening all at the same time. Okay, I think that's more than anyone maybe wanted to hear about this, but hopefully that's, for transparency's sake, all the little things here. Let me just look at my notes really fast. During this reselection as well, there will be some folks, when you look at those panels, there are a few folks who are selected onto every panel, particularly these 4 folks in the Latinx category. One other little note is that we have decided to relax a rule that we normally have for, this is another one of these sort of like trade-offs with trying to satisfy a bunch of different things at the same time. We normally have a rule to have no 2 people from the same household on the panel. And we have relaxed it for that category just in order to get a couple more folks onto the panel for the sake of representation in that category. That was the sort of balance that we made there. Yeah, but only where it was sort of absolutely necessary did we do that. All right, I think, oh no, one more thing. I've also noted there are a few folks who won't appear on any of these reselected panels, and that was not true in the original reselection. The software is pretty good about making sure that everybody is at least on some panels, but there are a few people that won't be on any of these reselected panels simply because the software couldn't find any possible panel where they could be a member and all the other demographics fit. So that's sort of the nature of the random and representativeness. However, if you're not selected, this isn't your last chance. Maybe I'll say more about that after we do the selection itself. Shall we actually do it?
Yeah.
All right, super.
All right, so we have here a set of bingo balls.
Screen share. Sweet.
We have here a set of bingo balls. They are numbered from 0 to 9. Okay. And we will use these to choose which of the panels will be selected. Right.
We almost did this yesterday without the bingo machine. It would have been a great loss.
Yeah, we got to have the bingo machine. The first number on our new panel is 5.
5. Okay.
Second number on the panel is 2.
2.
And the third number on our panel is 1.
1. All right.
521.
521. Ta-da! Great.
Okay, so if you are on panel 521, I will be calling you personally within the next day or two, probably today, to ask if you can participate on May 13th, 14th, 15th, and beyond. But we want to get that confirmed right away. So expect to hear from us if you are on that panel.
Awesome.
What else? And if you're not selected, then we'll talk a little bit more about what other options for participating.
Yeah, there's still one other chance to get on the panel actually. So after we take out those 12 folks that are on panel 521, we'll select from the remaining folks to pick out 36 people who are alternates, who in case folks drop out in the next week and a half or aren't there on the first day of the panel, those folks will be who we select from. So you'll be getting a notice about that as well. And we'll be asking those folks if they're able to show up on the first day of the panel as well, just in case there's somebody that drops, that doesn't show up on that first day, and you'll be paid for that. Paid for the morning of that day and lunch. So yeah, and just a note about there are other opportunities, I should say, to participate. So if you haven't signed up for the sort of notifications about the event, please do so on the website. And I don't think I mentioned the project website yet. It's healthydemocracy.org/Petaluma. And you can find it from our website, healthydemocracy.org, under the menus as well, but healthydemocracy.org/Petaluma. And yeah, the one other thing to mention here is that, as you just said, May 13, 14, 15 are the first weekend of the panel, and members of the public it's open to the public the whole time. There's a public gallery. It's sort of like visiting Congress or something like that. There's no participation from the gallery, but you can watch the proceedings. And that first weekend will include quite a few full group sessions where the full group is hearing from a number of different presenters that have been selected by this stakeholder committee that's been working for the last couple of months. So it could be pretty interesting that first weekend in particular. And the other thing I want to tell you about is that June 4th, the panel will be meeting for sort of a special day, just one day that weekend, June 4th, and there will be a stakeholder and public workshop on that day that will be first open to stakeholders who weren't stakeholder groups that weren't selected onto that IAC, the stakeholder committee. And then it'll be open, or there'll be some slots open to that group, I guess, to stakeholders. How do I say this? And then some slots open to folks who weren't selected onto the panel. So that's another way to participate that you will have special access to if you had replied to the mailing. And then there will be spots open to anybody from the general public as well. So look for that notice. And I think that might finally be the last thing I have to say.
We'll see when we reselect for alternates.
Yeah, exactly. We'll and we'll be contacting folks, and we'll see everybody on May 13th. Okay, super. Have a great